frozen in time, standing as silent witnesses to a cataclysmic event that reshaped the landscape. This is the picture painted by proponents of the Great Mud Flood theory, a narrative that challenges conventional historical accounts. It's a captivating idea that has taken root in certain corners of the internet, sparking curiosity and debate among those who seek to uncover hidden truths. While mainstream history offers no explanation for such a cataclysmic event, believers point to various pieces of evidence that suggest otherwise. These include the existence of subterranean structures, tunnels, and chambers that hint at a buried past, and buildings with windows buried below ground level, architectural anomalies that defy simple explanations. They see these as remnants of a civilization buried by a global mudslide, a cataclysm that erased entire chapters of human history. The mystery of the mud flood lies in reconciling these anomalies with accepted historical narratives, a task that requires an open mind and a willingness to question the status quo. The allure of the Great Mud Flood lies in its potential to rewrite history, to offer a new perspective on the past that challenges our assumptions. It challenges us to consider the possibility that our understanding of the past is incomplete, that there are stories yet to be uncovered and truths yet to be revealed. It invites us to explore the fringes of historical research, where speculation and evidence intertwine and where the line between fact and fiction becomes blurred. Whether the mud flood is a genuine historical event or a misinterpretation of existing phenomena, it serves as a reminder of the vastness of the unknown and the enduring power of historical mysteries. It beckons us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to never stop exploring the whispers of the past. The Great Mud Flood theory proposes a global catastrophe. It claims a massive flood of mud engulfed the Earth. This event supposedly occurred sometime between the 17th and 19th centuries. Proponents believe this flood buried entire civilizations. They claim it reshaped the Earth's surface as we know it. This catastrophic event is not mentioned in history books. There's no mention of it in official records. This lack of documentation fuels the mystery. It raises questions about what really happened during that time. The lack of a widely accepted explanation for the mud flood is intriguing. It allows for a multitude of theories to emerge. Some propose natural disasters of unprecedented scale. Others suggest supernatural interventions or even extraterrestrial involvement. The absence of a definitive answer keeps the mud flood theory alive. It continues to fascinate and fuel speculation. The idea of a world reshaped by a cataclysmic mud flood is certainly captivating. It challenges our understanding of history. It makes us question the stability of our world. Whether the mud flood is a genuine historical event or a product of misinterpretations, its allure lies in its potential to rewrite our understanding of the past. It prompts us to question the narratives we've been taught and to consider the possibility of a forgotten history buried beneath our feet. Believers in the Great Mud Flood point to architectural anomalies as evidence. They argue that these anomalies are not just random quirks of design, but rather they are deliberate clues left behind by a forgotten era. They claim these structures hold clues to a buried past, a past that has been obscured by layers of earth and time. These enthusiasts meticulously study the architectural details, believing that each feature tells a story of a world that once was. One of the most cited examples is the existence of ground floor windows. These windows, often found partially or fully below street level, are seen as evidence of a significant event that altered the landscape. These windows are found below street level in many old buildings worldwide. From Europe to Asia and the Americas, these architectural features are remarkably consistent, suggesting a global phenomenon. Proponents argue that these windows were once above ground. They believe that the buildings were originally constructed at a different ground level, which has since been buried. They believe the mud flood buried these structures, leaving only the upper portions visible today. This theory posits that a massive cataclysmic event deposited vast amounts of mud and debris, altering the landscape dramatically. They claim the mud deposited around them created the current street level. This would mean that entire floors of buildings are now underground, hidden from view and from history. This theory challenges conventional explanations for these architectural features. Traditional historians and architects often attribute these anomalies to more mundane causes, such as changes in urban planning or natural sedimentation. It fuels the mystery surrounding the mud flood. The idea that a single event could have such a profound impact on global architecture is both fascinating and controversial. Another piece of evidence often cited is the existence of underground tunnels and cities. These subterranean networks are found in many ancient cities, and their origins are often unclear. These subterranean structures are found across various continents. From the catacombs of Paris to the underground cities of Cappadocia, these hidden worlds suggest a complex history beneath our feet. Their purpose and origins are often shrouded in mystery. Were they built for protection, storage, or something else entirely? The answers remain elusive. Mud flood proponents suggest these structures were once above ground. They argue that the tunnels and underground cities were originally at the surface level before being buried by the mud flood. They believe they were buried during the cataclysmic event. This event, they claim, reshaped the world, burying civilizations and altering the course of history. They see these underground complexes as remnants of a lost civilization. These structures, they argue, are the last vestiges of a world that was dramatically transformed by the mud flood.
While these architectural anomalies are intriguing, they are not without their critics. Skeptics argue that these features can be explained by more conventional means. They are open to interpretation. The same evidence that mud flood proponents see as proof of a cataclysmic event can be viewed through a different lens by mainstream historians. Mainstream historians offer alternative explanations for these features. They suggest that changes in building practices, urban development, and natural processes can account for the anomalies. These explanations often involve more mundane reasons. For example, land reclamation projects have been common throughout history, altering the landscape and the position of buildings. They point to practices like land reclamation, changing architectural styles, and the natural evolution of cities over time, and the natural accumulation of debris over time. Cities are dynamic environments, constantly changing and evolving. However, the mud flood theory offers a more dramatic and captivating interpretation. It suggests a sudden, catastrophic event that reshaped the world in an instant. It continues to resonate with those who question the accepted narratives of history. For these individuals, the mud flood theory provides an alternative perspective, one that challenges the conventional understanding of our past.
One of the most perplexing aspects of the Great Mud Flood theory is the lack of historical documentation. This absence of records is particularly baffling given the scale of the event that proponents claim occurred. If such a massive and devastating flood had taken place, it would have surely left a significant mark on the annals of history. If such a catastrophic event occurred, wouldn't there be records of it? Historians and researchers have scoured archives and ancient texts, yet they find no mention of a disaster of this magnitude. This raises questions about the reliability of our historical records and the possibility of lost or hidden information.
Proponents of the theory argue that there is a conspiracy of silence surrounding the event. They suggest that powerful entities have gone to great lengths to erase any trace of the mud flood from our collective memory. This idea of a deliberate cover-up adds a layer of intrigue and suspicion to the theory. They believe evidence of the mud flood has been deliberately suppressed or erased. This suppression could have been carried out by those in power who had a vested interest in maintaining control over historical narratives. By erasing evidence, they could shape the way future generations understand their past.
Some theories suggest that knowledge of the mud flood is being hidden by powerful forces. These forces, whether governmental, religious, or otherwise, might have deemed the event too disruptive to the established order. By keeping it a secret, they could prevent societal upheaval and maintain their authority. They claim these forces want to control the historical narrative. Controlling history allows them to influence the present and future, ensuring that their version of events remains unchallenged. This manipulation of history is a powerful tool for maintaining dominance.
Others believe that the event was simply too catastrophic for survivors to comprehend or record accurately. The sheer scale of the disaster might have overwhelmed those who lived through it, leaving them unable to document their experiences. This could explain the absence of detailed records. The lack of clear documentation leaves room for speculation. Without concrete evidence, the story of the mud flood becomes a fertile ground for theories and conjecture. This ambiguity fuels the mystery and keeps the debate alive. It fuels the mystery of the mud flood. The enigmatic nature of the event captivates the imagination, drawing people into a web of intrigue and unanswered questions. The more elusive the truth, the more compelling the story becomes.
Skeptics argue that the absence of evidence is not evidence of a cover-up. They maintain that the lack of records simply means that the event did not happen. According to them, history is full of documented disasters, and the mud flood would be no exception if it were real. They point to the fact that significant historical events rarely go unrecorded. From ancient times to the present, humanity has always found ways to document major occurrences. The absence of any mention of the mud flood in historical texts is, to them, a clear indication of its non-existence. They believe that the lack of documentation for the mud flood suggests that it simply never happened. For skeptics, the theory is nothing more than a modern myth, a story concocted to explain anomalies in historical architecture and geography.
The silence of history surrounding the mud flood is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it provides a blank canvas for theorists to project their ideas and interpretations. On the other hand, it also serves as a barrier to those seeking concrete evidence. It both strengthens the belief for some and fuels skepticism in others. For believers, the lack of records is proof of a cover-up. For skeptics, it is proof of the theory's implausibility. This dichotomy keeps the debate vibrant and ongoing. For believers, the lack of official acknowledgement reinforces the idea that there is a hidden truth. They see the silence as evidence that something significant is being concealed. This belief drives them to continue their search for the elusive proof. For skeptics, it highlights the lack of concrete evidence to support the theory. They argue that without tangible proof, the mud flood remains a speculative and unsubstantiated claim. This skepticism is rooted in a demand for verifiable facts. This discrepancy in interpretation contributes to the ongoing debate and fascination with the Great Mud Flood. The clash between belief and skepticism ensures that the theory remains a topic of interest, sparking discussions and investigations that keep the mystery alive.
The lack of physical evidence for the Great Mud Flood is a major point of contention. Critics argue that a global mudslide of such magnitude would leave undeniable geological traces. Where is the evidence in the Earth's layers?
Mudflood proponents counter this argument by suggesting that the evidence has been eroded over time. They claim natural processes like weathering, geological activity, and human development have erased or obscured the physical signs of the flood.
They also point to the possibility that the mud itself was different from what we typically imagine. Some theories suggest that the mud was actually a more fluid substance. This substance could have deposited sediment in a way that's less detectable using conventional geological methods.
The lack of definitive physical evidence allows for a range of interpretations. It fuels both skepticism and intrigue. While the absence of clear-cut proof might deter some, it also allows others to fill in the gaps with their own theories and interpretations. This element of mystery is a key factor in the enduring fascination with the Great Mud Flood.